Adjusting the preload on your AXEO is not as difficult as you may think it is. We're going to show you how. Hey, it's Chase and we're back with another tech video. And in this one, we're going to be talking about the AXEO specifically and how they're preloaded. Or if you need to make a preload adjustment and you don't know where the preload was set to, we're going to show you how to set this back specifically to factory 0 so that you can either leave it there or you can make your new adjustment after that. So all of these cartridges are pretty much going to be the exact same when it comes to where this preload is adjusted. This here is the billet preload adjuster. The shaft obviously with the spring around the outside of it. Down here on the bottom, it's important to note the flat spot that's going to have a set screw in it. On the shaft, there's also going to be the correct flat spot where this section here will line up and the set screw is going to run in and press against that flat spot, and it's going to hold this in place for you so that you are not having this spin and misadjust your spring preload. So, easy trick. If you turn this upside down, okay, and this is an 1/8 inch Allen wrench, you're just going to pop that in there. You want to back this set screw out just so this can spin freely all the way around. You don't want it to just be dragging threads. So we'll do this here facing towards you. Locate the flat spot on the shaft. Just stand this up on its top cap. Now let's just say here we're going to just spin this all crazy. So it's lined up there, you just backed out your set screw. You have no idea how much preload's on this. One note that I will make is the amount of exposed thread here does not correlate with how much preload you've got. That is a very common question that we get is, hey, I've got exposed thread here, what's going on? You know, this is not the preload adjuster either. It is just specifically this applying or removing spring tension from the actual spring. So if you back this all the way off, okay, so you can see daylight now between these two items here. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to start spinning the preload adjuster down until it makes its very first initial contact, which is right there. Now, springs sometimes are not perfectly flat on top. So you're going to make contact somewhere before you make full contact all the way around. That is how you know where your next step is going to be. So now that we've made the initial contact, there's still a little bit of up and down wobble in this spring. What you're going for is you want this preload adjuster to touch this spring 360 degrees and hold that spring in place. So with about 2 fingers, you just don't want any compression applied or preload applied to that spring, and you're just holding it in place. That is going to be factory 0. So because I can still see daylight underneath this preload adjuster and the spring, I'm going to continue to tighten, and right there it's making full contact. Now, it is important to note that when you make full contact, you want to continue tightening the rotation until the nearest flat spot. And there is only one flat spot. There are no half turns. You can't put 1 1/2 in there. It is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you have gone around there, we are now holding this spring in place. You can't really wiggle it with your normal 2 fingers. If we want to pull on it, of course, we can do that and move the spring. So we've basically set this in place. This is on the flat spot. It's making 360 degrees of rotation, and we're not applying any preload to this spring at all. The next important thing is that this set screw right here is going into a motorcycle that vibrates. So it is very important to make sure that when you run this screw in, that you put a little bit, just a dab of blue Loctite on there. We use 243 blue Loctite. And then when you tighten this down, there is a very, very definitive stop point where you can stop there and then just an 1/8 turn snug up. That's that Loctite's gonna do its job. It's gonna hold that in place. If you don't Loctite that set screw and your bike vibrates, it will back that set screw out potentially, which is going to allow this preload adjuster to start vibrating up and down the threads, and that can potentially mess up your preload here. If it happens on both sides, or if it just happens on one side, you're going to end up with a rough riding motorcycle, and it's all because of a little bit of blue Loctite. So do yourself a favor, if you don't have any, go grab some from the store. Make sure that you've got a little bit of thread sealant on there. I would not suggest anything firmer hold than blue. That's a small set screw. That's gonna be not fun to get out should you need to make an adjustment. So that is gonna be the same process no matter what. If you bought a bike and it has AXEOs and you're a different weight and you want to adjust that ride, you can pull it out. The only difference in the step here is if you're needing to go to 0, this is complete, ready to go back in the leg. If you need to make an adjustment from here, let's say you don't know if you had 3 turns or 4 and you want to just go back to 1 turn. Well, if you just hard reset, just like this, back to 0, but before you tighten that set screw, all you're gonna do is you're just gonna go 1 full, if I can get my set screw loosened up, you're just gonna go 1 full additional rotation back to that flat spot there. That is 1 turn tightening of preload. The next would be no different. You just make that extra turn. Now this has 2 turns of preload, so on and so on. It's important to note, you can even mark it down, on a piece of paper, put it in your glove box. But if you mark that down, if you make a change a year later or something, you don't necessarily need to go through that whole process. If you know you initially added 3 turns and you want to just back it off 1 turn, it's as simple as that. Reapply some Loctite, run your set screw back in, and you're done. We hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, email service@legendsuspensions.com. We are happy to help, but this is what we're going to run you over on the phone. So this is the easiest way to do it. This is how we do it at the factory. If the bike is here during the rally or something and we're getting it installed on your bike, this is the exact way that we set the preload for people. And this is exactly how you should do it too, to make sure that it is done correctly. We'll see you next time.